Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to meeting number 448 of the Grand Falls-Windsor Town Council, and hope everybody had a good Canada Day holiday last week. I know we had some fine weather for it and a good crowd turned out on the field. And of course this weekend we're hoping for a big crowd to turn out on the field once again as Salmon Festival is taking place, along with all the various events that are going to take place. And I know Councillor Finn will speak a little bit more about that later in the meeting. First of all, I want to get into the adoption of the minutes of meeting number 447, so I look for a mover. Councillor Moores, seconder. Councillor Finn. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Contrary mind? Motion carried. Any business arising out of the minutes? No business arising from the previous meeting, so we'll move right into the disbursement report. Councillor Pinsent.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'd like to move the disbursement report of $233,749.83 be accepted.
Moved by Councillor Pinsent. Looking for a seconder. Councillor Coady-Davis. Any discussion on the disbursement report? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary mind? Motion carried. Moving right along. Committee reports, Economic Development and Tourism. Councillor Coady-Davis.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The Economic Development and Tourism Committee met on Monday, June 22nd at 4:30. In attendance were myself as chair, Deputy Mayor Manuel, Councillor Finn, and Councillor Pinsent. Staff included Mike Pinsent, Town Manager Clerk, Gary Hennessy, the Economic Development Officer, and Stanley Singh, the Business Development Officer. The HPS project extension. The Business Development Officer reported that they have been approved for 3 more years for the Community Development Facilitator's position as part of the Homelessness Partnering Strategy. The facilitator has already completed 2 years of this project. The mental health event. The Business Development Officer presented the report to Council. The report is now complete. The Business Development Officer will keep Council appraised of the project. Exploits Hospitality, Tourism and Retail Association. The committee recommends making application to the Labour Market Program Support System to support employment enhancement in Grand Falls-Windsor. The Mudfest post-event report. The Economic Development Officer gave the committee a report on last weekend's Mudfest event. Senior staff involved in the event compiled a list of suggestions for the 2016 event and will follow up with them early in September. McCallum Resettlement, the one-pager sample. The Economic Development Officer produced a draft copy of a one-pager with general lifestyle information on Grand Falls-Windsor. The committee discussed and made several suggestions for change with the one-page flyer, and once this has been finalized, Council will mail it out to several communities on the South Coast that are considering resettlement in the future. Dime Store Fishermen. The Economic Development Officer was working with this group to arrange for them to be here during the Salmon Festival to tape a segment of their show. However, we were unable to work out the details of this at this point, and the EDO will follow up with Dime Store Fishermen for the 2016 season. Salmon Festival Marketing and Security. The Economic Development Officer gave a brief report on progress with several marketing projects for the upcoming festival. He also updated Council on the status of local security for the festival. Our meeting adjourned at 5:45 p.m. and I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, moved by Councillor Coady-Davis. Seconded by Councillor Moores. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. Public Works and Planning. Councillor Finn.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The Public Works and Planning Committee met on Tuesday, June 23rd at 4:30 p.m. Present were myself as chairperson, Deputy Mayor Barry Manuel, Councillor Bruce Moores, staff, Town Manager Mike Pinsent, Director of Engineering Works Jeff Saunders, Supervisor of Engineering Public Works Wayne Tate, Town Planner Mary Wang. Also attending the meeting was Colin Power. Development concerns, Mr. Power. multi-unit development, Mr. Power explained that approximately 6 years ago, they formed a development company called Roadrunners to provide the development of multi-unit residential. The need exists, but they're having difficulty in acquiring land and feels the town does not have sufficient area appropriately zoned. Staff explained that the majority of infill opportunities have been exhausted. The town has identified 2 large parcels for development of multi-unit residential that should be available late this year or next season. This should be sufficient lots to meet the demand in the near future. Multi-unit development on King Street, Mr. Power explained that he had an offer on land on King Street for a multi-unit construction, but is having difficulty in meeting regulations. It was explained that it is the developer's responsibility to design the units to meet the regulations. Town staff will work with the developer to assist but not design the units. The committee recommends that staff work with Mr. Power to determine if the required space for development is available on King Street. The area may also require a zone change, which Mr. Power will have to request at a later date. 8 Station Road. Mr. Power explained that he could develop 7 to 8 subsidized apartments in this building, but the zoning would have to change. The committee recommends that Mr. Power make a formal request for a zoning change, but it would be considered by the committee. Riverfront Visioning Session. The committee recommends this document be discussed at the next committee of the whole meeting. Correspondence, Mr. Blake, Hat Place, Rothmere Street intersection. The committee discussed the correspondence from Mr. Blake requesting a change in stop signs at the intersection of Hat and Rothmere Street. This has been reviewed by municipal enforcement officers and staff. The committee recommends that the stop signs remain at the present locations, but additional warning signage be erected and appropriate line painting be completed. Land request 26 Memorial Avenue. The committee reviewed a request for backland at 26 Memorial Avenue and recommends it be sold as per policy. Land request 114 Lincoln Road. The committee reviewed a request for backland at 114 Lincoln Road and recommends it be sold as per policy. Correspondence, Mr. Pretty, sidewalk policy. The committee discussed the correspondence from Mr. Pretty concerning the need for a sidewalk along Park Street near Hollett Seniors Home and linking it to Queensway. The committee recommends that staff provide an estimate to complete a paved sidewalk in this area and report back to committee. Land request 33 Bank Road. The committee reviewed a request for additional land at 33 Bank Road, and the committee recommends it be sold as per policy. Cromer Avenue, Duggan Street intersection. The committee discussed the possible impacts on the Cromer Avenue, Duggan Street intersection as a result of the proposed commercial development at the former Sweeney building and the adjacent land. The committee recommends that the development agreement between the town and the developer would address the new infrastructure requirements and traffic flow. Grenfell Heights, Hardy Avenue, Scott Avenue intersection. The committee was pleased with the turnout at the public meeting to discuss the plans for the Grenfell Heights, Hardy Avenue, Scott Avenue intersection. There were presenters who supported the decision to construct the roundabout, as well as those who opposed the decision. Concerns were raised about the signage, line painting, and speed limits. The committee recognized the issues, and all line painting was completed the following day. Direction was given to staff to erect more advanced warning signs and reduce the approaching speed limits to 40 kilometers an hour on Scott Avenue and Hardy Avenue and 30 kilometers on Grenfell Heights. These signs have been ordered and will be installed as soon as they are available. The committee recommends that staff monitor the traffic flow at this intersection when all new signs are erected. The municipal enforcement officers will provide increased patrol and issue tickets as required. The committee also recommends that the information at the public meeting be discussed at the next committee of the whole meeting. Correspondence, Lark Group. The committee discussed a request for land at High Street, on High Street, Scott Avenue, for the construction of a long-term care facility. This is a permitted use. The committee recommends this request be approved in principle. It will be contingent on the RFP that the province will be calling for the public sector to provide their long-term care facilities. Any development in this area will have to meet the downtown development plan. Correspondence, Exploits River Zip Line Development, Mr. Porter. The committee discussed correspondence from Mr. Porter outlining a proposed route for a zip line. The committee recommends that staff work with Mr. Porter to determine the requirements from government to lease the appropriate land, provide access, and to construct this zip line as proposed. Speed limit, Cromer Avenue, Centennial Field area. The committee discussed concerns raised by the municipal enforcement officers with the speed on Cromer Avenue adjacent to Centennial Field. This area is a sports and recreation area and accessed by many residents. The committee recommends that the speed limit on Cromer Avenue from the intersection with Lincoln Road to the Trans-Canada Highway access ramp be reduced to 40 kilometers per hour. Corridor Brook Enhancement Building. The committee discussed the proposed floor plan for the new Corridor Brook Enhancement Building. It is a 4,147 square feet building and it meets the needs as discussed. The committee recommends that this be approved and a detailed design be completed. The exterior design is critical and this will be addressed as we move through the design process. Main Street, High Street parking. The committee recommends that the proposed changes to parking on Main Street and High Street be discussed at the next Public Works and Planning Committee meeting. The meeting adjourned at 8:15 p.m. Mr. Deputy Mayor, I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Finn to adopt the Public Works and Planning minutes. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Moores. Any discussion? No discussion. Just one question for Director of Engineering, I guess, talking about the signage and that in the area of Scott Avenue, Grenfell Heights and Hardy Avenue. Has it all arrived yet and been installed? We're still waiting on some?
Expected this week.
Okay, so expecting this week, and I guess as soon as it arrives, we'll have the rest of the signage in there. Thank you. Okay, we'll look for a vote then to accept the minutes. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. Now, Councillor Finn, there's some resolution business, I think, to take care of.
Yes, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I have two items of business. We had the paving tenders close on June 24th. There were two bidders, Penny Paving and Marine Paving. The low bidder was Penny Paving at $2,932,689.73, HST included. Mr. Deputy Mayor, I move that the low bidder, Penny Paving, be accepted by Council.
Okay, it's moved by Councillor Finn, seconded by Councillor Coady-Davis. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, all in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. Councillor Finn.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I have a resolution here to basically just rearrange some of the financing from the different funding sources for our multi-year capital program. It's not any changes in projects, it's just a reallocation of funds and is required as a part of our Schedule A requirements for multi-year capital. And it reads as follows. Whereas the town of Grand Falls-Windsor qualifies for funding under the provincial multi-year capital program, whereas all projects and funding allocated under this agreement must be approved through municipal and intergovernmental affairs, and whereas the town of Grand Falls-Windsor has funding available remaining in the multi-year capital works program, and has to reprofile existing funding, therefore be it resolved that Schedule A be revised and funding be reprofiled as follows. Street resurfacing and related work, $375,000. Civic Center, $686,023. Excite building repairs, $200,000. YMCA ventilation, $50,000. Water and sewer on Railway Road and Gilbert Street, $1,580,000. Duggan Street, $1,640,000. Hardy Avenue, $1,900,000. And the playground equipment at Sutherland Drive and Main Street, $171,621. Mr. Deputy Mayor, I move the adoption of this re-profiling of multi-year capital program.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Finn. It's been moved by Councillor Finn to adopt the revised Schedule A, the multi-year capital works program. Is there a seconder? Councillor Coady-Davis. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. Parks, Recreation, and Special Events. Sorry, Councillor
If I
Finn?
could just add two other things related to tenders.
Sure.
For the benefit of, I realize I could do this in other business, but for the benefit of dealing with tenders all at one time, there are two tenders that are open today, and one is the Gilbert Street water and sewer project, and the town hall, work on the town hall, which includes insulating the roof, some work on the cupola, and some work around the windows. And both tenders are advertised today and close on July 23rd. So I just wanted to add that as a point of information related to the Public Works program.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor Finn. Move along to Parks, Recreation, and Special Events. Councillor Coady-Davis.
Thank you again, Deputy Mayor. Parks, Recreation, Special Events met on Wednesday, June 26th at 4:30. In attendance, Deputy Mayor Manuel, myself, Councillor Pinsent and Councillor Finn, staff, Mike Pinsent, Town Manager Clerk, Barry Griffin, Director of Finance and HR, Keith Antle, Parks and Recreation Foreman, Todd Mercer, Leisure Services Programmer, and David Nichols, Director of Parks and Recreation. 2015 Canada Day activities. The Director presented the committee with the 2015 Canada Day schedule and itinerary. The committee is looking forward to Canada Day celebrations and invites all citizens to participate in many events and activities. It was noted that the Town Hall has received a $15,000 grant from the Department of Canadian Heritage, which will enhance the celebrations. Summer program update. The Leisure Services Programmer informed the committee that summer program registration has been ongoing and some of the programs have already been filled. The committee is pleased with the interest in our summer program and encourages our citizens to register for the activities while there is still space available. The fence at the Main Street softball field. The committee discussed a request from a resident to repair and replace some fencing on their property which borders the Main Street fields. The committee noted that the fence is not town property and recommends that this request be denied. 2015 landscaping list update. The Parks and Recreation Foreman presented the completed 2015 landscaping list to date. It was noted that the crews are completing a capital landscaping job for the remainder of this week, but will be back to regular landscaping next week. 2015 summer events list. The committee reviewed the updated summer special events and tournaments list presented by the Director. The Director noted that there are numerous events, particularly at the stadium, and the department staff has been working up to 3 events a weekend in several cases. The committee acknowledged the Director's concerns. Stadium year-end financial statements. The Director presented the 2014 Stadium year-end financial statements. The committee reviewed the statements and discussed the stadium's deficit and, in particular, the increased electrical and labor costs. The staff were directed to review actual summer and spring ice costs, stadium opening and closing dates, length of the season, and ice rental rates. The committee will discuss these matters at a future committee meeting and make recommendations to decrease the stadium's deficits. Summer concerts in the park. The committee discussed its schedule for summer concerts in the park. The department will hold 3 free concerts at Church Row Park and Gorge Park in July following the Salmon Festival. The first free concert will be held at Church Row Park on Friday, July 17th. The other dates will be announced in the next few weeks. The committee invites all residents to attend these concerts. I just want to make a correction there that one of those concerts will be in July. The following 2 will probably take place in August. Communities in Bloom update. The Director informed the committee that the national judges will be in Grand Falls-Windsor to evaluate the town on July 16th to the 18th. The final itinerary will be presented to the committee on next Tuesday, June 30th, 2015. Correspondence from Impact Hockey. The committee discussed correspondence received from Impact Hockey with respect to a proposal to utilize the Windsor Stadium for April and May ice in 2016. Impact Hockey is prepared to guarantee a set number of hours to be utilized per week and is also prepared to cover the cost in advance. The committee directed staff to complete a cost analysis of the actual expense to leave on the ice for 6 weeks and report back to a future committee meeting. The committee also directed the Director of Parks and Rec to contact Impact Hockey to obtain additional information on this request. Valley Road Cemetery. The committee discussed a request from a resident for the town to repair a number of headstones at the Valley Road Cemetery. The committee directed the Parks and Rec foreman to contact the Interfaith Cemetery Committee to see if the requested repairs are on their work schedule for this summer. Correspondence, a paintball field. The committee discussed correspondence received from a local paintball group. The group is requesting that the town provide them with a location to play and the purchase of bunkers to be placed on a paintball field. The committee recommends that the group be offered the old dump site on the Trans-Canada Highway and that a $200 startup grant be provided to the group to purchase and construct bunkers for the site. Correspondence from the 4th Grand Falls Scout Group Committee. The committee discussed correspondence received from the 4th Grand Falls Scout Group Committee thanking the department for the use of the Joe Byrne Memorial Stadium for their closing banquet. The Scout Committee also noted that the recreation staff were very helpful and they were grateful for the use of the various equipment and supplies which made the event such a success. Correspondence Wrestling Program. The committee discussed correspondence from an individual with respect to a proposal to start a youth and teen wrestling program in Grand Falls-Windsor. The committee directed the Director of Parks and Recreation to obtain more detailed information on the proposal and report back in the next committee meeting. Our meeting adjourned at 7 p.m. and I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's moved by Councillor Coady-Davis. Looking for a seconder. Seconded by Councillor Moores. Any discussion on the Parks Recreation minutes? Councillor Finn.
Just one item, Deputy Mayor. On page 3, the correspondence regarding the paintball field. It states there the committee recommends that a group be offered the old dump site on the Trans-Canada Highway, which is fine, and that a $200 startup grant be provided to the group to purchase and construct the bunkers for this site. And I was present at the meeting, obviously, but I don't recall that part of the decision being discussed.
Nor do I. And unfortunately, the director isn't here this evening. I do remember discussing the paintball and the land offer, but I don't remember the startup grant either.
No. And it's not, honestly, it's not something council would typically do, provide a startup grant for, which is something which is basically a private sector initiative. You know, we're providing all the cooperation, support, the land, and all of that facilitating that we do and should do. But I'm not in favor of this, and I request that it either be separated from the minutes or be rediscussed in another committee meeting, unless someone else has some other information that they're willing to share with me tonight and want to debate it.
Well, again, I don't recall. I don't see anybody else who seems to, so I'd like...
I'm just reviewing the attached correspondence that came with that request, and there is no monetary ask in the correspondence. I, as well, do not remember the conversation. I can't say that it never occurred, but I can say I don't recall that it happened. Okay. Just to be, I don't want to be too iron-fisted with that. Yes, but because there is times when you do tend to lose focus, depending on how many topics we're discussing. But it's not in the attached correspondence, no monetary ask. So I would support you in if you want a motion to remove that.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Thank you. So Deputy Mayor also moved that portion of the minutes be removed. Okay. And I think that's a friendly amendment. Yeah.
To
just the $200.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Councillor Finn is moving to amend the minutes as discussed. Councillor Coady-Davis is seconding that motion. Any discussion?
So this will be referred back to committee.
We can discuss it again in committee, but for now, we're going to strike that portion of that paragraph from the minutes.
Great.
That's the motion, correct? Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Count your mind. Motion carried. Oh, yeah.
That was the amendment.
Yeah. So that being taken care of, we'll get back to Councillor Coady-Davis, and Councillor Morris have moved and seconded the original minutes. So we'll look for discussion on that, and I believe earlier I heard none. So unless things have changed, we will ask for a vote. All those in favor? Count your mind. Motion carried. Committee to whole, there were two committee to whole meetings. Ask Councillor Moores to read the first set of minutes for me. Councillor Moores.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. The committee of the whole met on Tuesday, June the 30th at 6 p.m. Present was Mayor Hopkins, Deputy Mayor Emanuel, Councillor Finn, Coady-Davis, myself, Councillor Pinsent. The staff included Mike Pinsent, Town Manager. The Mayor welcomed Staff Sergeant Brushett to the meeting. The purpose of the meeting was to discuss the level of policing in Grand Falls-Windsor, detachment area. In response to specific questions from Council, Sergeant Brushett stated that Grand Falls-Windsor has 24 officers for a population of 25,000 people spread over a huge geographic area. Response times to calls could be up to 60 minutes due to travel. The region services 17 communities. As a comparison, the Corner Brook detachment of the RNC services 19,000 people in a small, compact geographical area which response time is closer to 15 minutes. They have 48 officers, which gives a ratio of 1 police officer for 400 people, whereas in Grand Falls-Windsor, the ratio is 1 officer for every 1,050 people. This is a huge discrepancy in the level of service the provincial government provides the central detachment compared to Corner Brook. Corner Brook also benefits from the RCMP presence because the RCMP detachment that is responsible for policing the area outside of Corner Brook is located in the city. In response to questions regarding how busy the detachment is, Council discussed statistics given by the Superintendent, Paul Darren, which reported that the officers in Grand Falls-Windsor detachment have 84 active files per officer, compared to 56 in the jurisdiction, which is a 50% higher caseload. In Corner Brook, there is a mandatory 5 officers on shift for 24/7. Grand Falls-Windsor does not have 24/7 protection. When asked what the level of policing would be required for the 24/7 policing and to provide adequate policing, Sergeant Brushett stated he would need a 4th team of 6 RCMP officers. There was a general discussion on cost. An RCMP senior constable cost $82,000, but given the federal government pays 30%, the cost to the provincial government is $57,400. An RNC senior constable is $84,000, which is higher by 46%. It was recommended that Council meet with the province and discuss this major deficit in policing for Central Newfoundland. Mr. Deputy Mayor, I move the recommendation and report of this committee.
Thank you, Councillor Moores. It's been moved by Councillor Moores, seconded by Councillor Pinsent to accept the Committee of the Whole meeting number 1. Any discussion on the minutes? Councillor Finn.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. First of all, I guess I want to thank the staff for providing some detail in our minutes, because in addition to being active and proactive in dealing with the RCMP in terms of the level of police protection there is in Grand Falls-Windsor and exploits region secondarily to us from our perspective, I think it's important and incumbent upon council to let our citizens know where we sit based on the many discussions and research that we've been doing regarding policing. And so in that spirit, Mr. Mayor, I think given that we're headed into the political election season, this is a political issue. We have the information in our minutes has been provided to the minister responsible. We've met with the RCMP. But in terms of what council can do to provide increased policing services, there's very little except for apply pressure. And there are, and obviously we will be electing MHAs soon, and not just an MHA for Grand Falls Buckens, but we have an MHA for exploits, and all of those MHAs, as far as Springdale, are all affected by what we consider a rural area from a RCMP perspective, and from, I suppose, the way the province treats us in terms of the level of policing. Because we are under-policed by 50% compared to other regions, and namely Corner Brook, Mount Pearl, and St. John's, the metro area. So like, we're not just under by a few members, like on a per capita basis, we're 50% less. And I know, Deputy Mayor, you've been in the media on that, and you've spoken very well and articulated a lot of the numbers that the public needs to know. But this meeting and many meetings going forward, I think, we still need to keep that pressure on. And some of the information that I've kept track of as well, that the public would need to know about our service, is that our service is not a 24-hour policing service. We don't have 24-hour policing, and nobody should be under any illusions. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have police available 24 hours. They're on call all the time. 2 members are always on call. But there are situations when those members are getting out of bed to respond to you. I mean, that's the reality of it. So the citizens need to know that. So Grand Falls-Windsor, as Councillor Moore said, 24 members. Corner Brook, 48. Constabulary. Like, what's up with that? They have the same population as the exploits region. As a matter of fact, the exploits region, I would say, has a few thousand more. We have a wider geographic region, and they have 48 members policing, I believe, 23,500, and we have a little more than that. We're around 25,000 from Buckens to Leading Tickles, and like the call rates are the same, like in terms of what the police are expected to call. So you've got a police officer or a team, because you don't respond alone, especially if it's a serious incident in Buckens. Well, they got to pack a lunch to get back to Leading Tickles for another response, or someone else has to be called out. Like, this is like, it's not to exaggerate the situation, but these situations can and will happen. They can and will happen. So it's important to emphasize that there. Another important fact is, while we may have 24 members versus, and I'll always compare 24 versus 48 members, always 5 on a shift in Corner Brook, always got to get them out of bed in Grand Falls-Windsor, is that the RCMP are 30% subsidized by the federal government. So, while you may have 2 constables making, and by the way, an RCMP would make a little less as a constable than an R&C officer, so they get a little less, and you get them 30% less, so we get less members, and it's cheaper for the provincial government for what we're provided. So, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And it's not a new issue. a recent number that has emerged to us is that back in 1980s, we had 30 members, so we had 6 members more in the 80s, albeit our population was probably a little higher in the 80s, as in all areas of Newfoundland. So that same problem, even in the 80s, was still around, and it's time that it get dealt with. That was some of the main points I just wanted to re-emphasize. There's a lot of information, for those citizens that are interested in investigating on their own. All of the call rates, number of members, low service, those are all on reports online that I understand that the RCMP and the Constabulary publish about their service, police service. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to add those points of information.
Thanks, Councillor Finn. Any other discussion? Councillor Coady-Davis.
I just wanted to make a point that as the Grand Falls-Windsor representative of the Exploits Joint Council, which covers Buchan's 2 leading tickles, we also had this discussion in our most recent joint council meeting, and all members of that committee are very concerned about this and will be releasing their own statement from joint council based on the numbers that were presented to them and that they are also aware of. Even the town of Botwood has recently met with our CMP to express their concerns about coverage in, specifically in Botwood, let alone in the region. So we're supported by the central region, exploits region, which, like Councillor Finn mentioned, is 2 MHAs. And this has to be political, and we've started this campaign and we will continue it right on through, and even after the fact if we don't see the results that, are desperate and are glaring change. It has to happen here. So that statement from Joint Council will follow within the next week or so in support of our concerns as well.
Thank you, Councillor Coady-Davis. Any other comments?
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I think it's important to add that in the discussion in the committee minutes and even with Staff Sergeant Brushett, that is not the individual police officers, it's not a criticism of them or their work. I mean, they're overworked and probably getting burnt out, so I wouldn't want any of the RCMP officers to think that we were criticizing the work that they do. We're criticizing the provincial government for not providing an adequate number of them to give us sufficient policing.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I mean, as Councillor Finn said, I've been very vocal, and everybody here knew I was going to try to start waging a bit of a war on this critical issue. And I agree totally. It has to become a political issue. We have to keep the pressure on to keep it on that hot burner. We intend to do so. And, just to add on to a couple of points, I know the town manager mentioned the RCMP. The RCMP here does a fantastic job. But I'm hearing from, people close to the RCMP members themselves that they support what we're doing here. Recently I heard Boyd Merrill, I believe he's a spokesperson for Newfoundland Labrador RCMP in the media, basically saying that Grand Falls-Windsor numbers are just fine. And I believe it was you who said, and I concur, that the problem's worse than we thought, because it's not fine. There are a lot of other factors involved that haven't been mentioned here tonight that did go to the media when you talk about people on maternity, paternity leave, people undergoing transfers. There's a bunch of that. There's people who are new members who cannot go out and police on their own. You talk about the 1980s, you did have members in Botwood and Buchan's, which certainly helped with the geographical challenges that they face right now. And the question is, and the numbers don't lie, why do we here in the region not have the same level of policing as other regions of the province with the very similar populations? The numbers are there, 50% less. And if we could get that extra crew, the extra 6-man crew here, you would have people who could take a call in Buchan's or Leading Tickles, and you'd still have someone at the station to be able to respond to the extra calls. Not to mention the visibility, because visibility is huge when it comes to policing, and the RCMP do their best to be visible, and our municipal police do a good job as well, but unfortunately, more often than not, late in the night, on the weekends or any night, there's no RCMP cars around town. One time, I remember, RCMP cars were regular. You'd see them all the time, and I think that's a result of not only less members, but the crime has increased over the years. It's gotten more serious. There's a lot more issues to be dealt with now with crime. So absolutely, we need to keep the pressure on, and we need the public's assistance. We need the people of Grand Falls-Windsor. I've talked to the mayors of a lot of the other communities. They share the same concerns, and we need the region to band together through joint council or whatever means we have to make sure that the government hear us loud and clear, and we finally, because since I've been here, not 2 years yet, this has been an issue. And before my time, it's been an issue, and I have seen absolutely no improvement. In fact, it's gotten worse. So, you know, let's keep that up, and thanks to Councillor Finn for bringing that up. So if there are no other discussion, comments on those minutes, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Count your mind. Motion carried. And to the second set of committee of the whole minutes, I'll ask Councillor Pinsent to read those for us, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The committee of the whole meeting was held at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, June the 30th. Present was Mayor Al Hawkins, Deputy Mayor Barry Manuel, Councillors Finn, Coady-Davis, Moores, Pinsent. Staff, Mike Pinsent, Town Manager, and Barry Griffin, Director of Finance. The meeting dealt with the Grand Falls House Committee. The Mayor and Council welcomed the members of the Grand Falls House Committee. Spokesperson Peggy Bartlett presented the consultant's report that involved months of research regarding how 2 housing structures and the adjacent land could provide a sustainable operation of multiple entities, including the Grand Falls House and the former mill manager's house. This was a very extensive report, and Council commended the committee on their work and their diligence on the project. Both the committee and Council agreed that the next step is to jointly present this to a committee of cabinet of the province and initiate a dialogue as to how this work moves forward. I move the recommendations of this report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Pinsent, seconder, Councillor Moores. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll just add a couple of comments. Basically reiterate what's been in the minutes there. I'd like to commend the committee, Grand Falls House Committee, for their work. Some time ago, of course, the province have been looking to, I guess, divest the property, I guess would be the proper word, and they've been looking to the town to take it. We have ourselves had some questions about that. Certainly, we did not want to take that property on just with all liability, and the Grand Falls House Committee, through some direction, through discussions with council and the province, decided that they would engage the consultants and get the report done. It is a very detailed report, and I do know both council and the committee are interested in pushing forward to see primarily where the province stands on this, and in terms of getting the capital required for the remediation work that's required on those properties up there, and then we can explore further ideas as proposed in the plan, and you never know, maybe some other good ideas as well. And again, as usual, I'd like to hear from the general public and comments on that, and as we go along, that will be a part of the process as well, I'm sure. Councillor Finn?
I too would like to thank the committee for their work. I know being a volunteer in a committee like this takes a lot of time, and there's a lot of detail and a lot of considerations in formulating a plan for such I'll say a huge project. It's a huge project. It's to make it successful requires a lot of foresight early on for things that can really be tangible and profitable in the future. So council still has obviously lots of discussions we have to have ourselves on it. The committee just gave us the report this week. And of course the public has a right to see the details of that report as well. So while we're working with the province, we have our own deliberations to do, and we're looking for a commitment from the province. We also need to get the make it available to the public so that they can see what it is we're asking for from government and where potentially this could go. And of course all of that would form part of our own, would inform part of our own considerations in terms of what we want to do as a council, for sure. So, so it's still a bit of work ahead. It's timely because the provincial government wants us to make a decision to accept it, and of course we're not ready to make a decision to accept it under the current terms. But I definitely want to thank that committee for their dedicated work, because it wasn't a small task that they took on, and very much appreciated as a councillor, I should say. Thank you.
Yeah, I should mention as well, something I didn't mention in my comments, and just to follow up on what Councillor Finn had said, is that the committee have agreed to continue their work in terms of working with council to try to push this forward and lobby government and engage the community so that we can turn over every stone in order to try to do what's right for that property, for the future Grand Falls-Windsor, and also the sustainability of the structures in question. Okay, so we had a mover for the committee of the whole minutes number 2, Councillor Pinsent. It was seconded by Councillor Moores. Any other discussion? Hearing none, call for a vote. All in favor? Count your mind it. Motion carried. Moving right along, notice of motion. Any notice of motion? Hearing none, we'll move into other business. And we'll start with Councillor Coady-Davis.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. My first item tonight is to put forth a motion to reconsider the roundabout for Grenfell-Scott-Hardy intersection.
Okay, Councillor Coady-Davis is putting forth a motion that the roundabout issue be reconsidered. Is there a seconder for that motion? Second motion. Councillor Pinsent? Any discussion on the reconsideration motion? Councillor Coady-Davis?
Just the rationale for me to reconsider this is based on the public consultation which happened at the Fire Hall. There was a great turnout at that, and lots of people did speak, whether for or against that roundabout. So based on that presentation, I would like to reopen this discussion.
Any other discussion on the reconsideration motion? Councillor Finn?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So the motion is just points of order I have, really. So we're going to address a motion to reconsider, and presumably that would, I'll say presumably that will get accepted. And then following that, we're going to entertain a motion to we're going to revisit the same motion again, and we're going to do that this evening, just
Correct.
for clarification.
That's correct, yeah, that's my understanding. And
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Pinsent?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Of course, I was the person who voted against it in January 20th, and
Councillor Pinsent, if I could just interrupt you before you... No,
go ahead.
sorry, I just wanted to just clarify. Councillor Finn, what he's suggesting is maybe we would vote on this consideration, which I think we've all given indication that we would be in agreement to. Then there would be a new motion put on.
Are we going to discuss it, or?
Oh, yes, yeah, with the new motion to be put on the table to
Okay.
revisit the original motion, and at that time, I'll ask for discussion again, and then everybody would have the opportunity to...
Are we going to take it back to committee and discuss it again? Because some of the new things, just to carry on what Councillor Finn's saying, some of the new things that came out of the committee and some of the things we've done, moving the signs and lowering the speed limit, I mean, we're going to bring that back to committee again for discussion?
Well,
Because
that's
rather
something
than
we
you
can
know, voting
discuss.
to either accept it or reject it tonight, I kind of think we should go back to committee with it again.
If I give you some clarification here, when a motion is made in council, there was a decision made, and the majority of council have voted for the construction of the roundabout. And the only person who can, only somebody who voted for this motion can make a motion to reconsider it. In other words, if you lost your vote, you can't keep coming back and asking for a decision to be revisited. So Councillor Amy Coady-Davis voted for the roundabout initially, and she has every right for a motion to reconsider the vote. Now, what happens when a motion is made to reconsider, council will vote and accept the motion to reconsider, I'm assuming. Once that's done, the original motion has to be tabled for a revote. So, and the original motion was to approve was an approval for the construction of a roundabout. So once we, right now, council is dealing with the motion to reconsider. So we get that out of the way. If you vote for it and approve that, then somebody, probably the original mover, Councillor Finn, can make the motion that council proceed with the roundabout. And then it gets seconded, you get debate once again, and everybody gets a chance to debate that motion again. Then there's a vote to see if it gets accepted.
Thank you, Mr.
That's
Town
the rule.
Manager, for that clarification. Is that okay, Councillor Pinsent? Okay. Okay, if that's okay, we have a mover and a seconder for the reconsideration, so I'll go ahead and call for a vote on that now. All in favor of reconsidering the motion? All right. Count your mind. Hearing none. Motion carried. Okay, now we will require a new motion to put the original motion of the roundabout back on the table. Councillor Finn.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I move that the motion, I don't have the exact text here to me, but the motion adopted on January 20th, as written in the minutes, be adopted as presented to council on January 20th.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Finn that the original motion be adopted. We're looking for a seconder for that motion. Councillor Moores. Now, any discussion on that motion? Councillor Coady-Davis.
Since I made the motion for reconsideration. We had our public consultation session a couple of weeks ago, and we had a very large turnout for that. And based on the discussion that happened in that public consultation, there were a lot of residents, not just in the Granville, Scott Hardy area, but also in other areas of the town, who did express that they were not in favor of that roundabout. They would like us to consider putting a set of lights there in place of the roundabout. And, you know, we've had a significant amount of email conversation from residents as well, based on their concerns with the roundabout and the fact that, you know, there are not a lot of roundabouts in Newfoundland and Labrador. People who have traveled them don't think it's the right fit for that intersection in particular, not necessarily for anywhere within Grand Falls-Windsor, but in particular that intersection. There has been, you know, since we had that public consultation session, line painting has taken place up there, which now that intersection is very visible with the lanes, the proper lanes where you are supposed to stop. The stop sign has been moved. We also just discussed in the Public Works minutes, and unfortunately I wasn't able to attend that meeting, but and did approve tonight that we erect additional signage in that area, warning of speed limit being lowered, what the speed limit is, and that there are stop signs ahead, and that it is going to be, it's considered a dangerous intersection. So, and some of that is yet to happen. I do feel that we haven't explored right now to go ahead with the roundabout. We've gone from nothing in that intersection, poor visibility, lines not painted, signs in the wrong locations, to a roundabout. There's been no options explored in between. We've discussed around the table, but we haven't really made any movement or any progress to any of that happening. We know that it's a dangerous intersection that's been proven by the accidents that have happened there. However, accidents are driver error. You know, whether or not a roundabout is going to correct driver error, I don't think that's the case. Stoplights are the most recognized traffic control system, and you know, all drivers are familiar with how stoplights work. The red, yellow, green. You know, stop on red, go on green. You know, and the yellow means slow down because the light is about to change. So, what was that? Okay. Yeah, yeah. Well, if your buddy what's his name, which it turned what cherry? It means it's ripening. So, booter, right? The vet. But that's not the case. We just replaced a set of lights at the Cromer, at the Union Street and Goodyear Avenue intersection. They do have a lifespan, yes, about 15 years or so. However, you know, with the advances that are happening with street lights and the technology that's being used, I'm sure that lifespan will be expanded, you know, based on the LED lighting and things like that. So, you know, I don't think that the roundabout is the right option for that intersection. I'm strongly suggesting that this comes back to committee for rediscussion, and that we seriously look at listening to the concerns of the residents in that area, like we have been doing with the public consultation and through emails that have happened, and we listen to their suggestion that a set of lights, traffic lights, would be the best option for that intersection.
Thank you, Councillor Coady-Davis. Any other discussion? Councillor Pinsent.
Okay, 6 months later. Thanks to Councillor Davis for bringing the motion forward. It's been a topic of great discussion. I voted against it back 6-7 months ago now, I guess. And my reasoning at the time, and my reasoning really hasn't changed. For starters, it was $400,000 plus if we went in any overruns, which I think is a huge amount of money that we're going to spend on an area that, you know, has a two-way stop sign. And yes, there's been accidents, but as Councillor Davis said, they're mostly driver error. And we haven't taken any other means, such as speed bumps or warning signs, that we've sort of taken into a sense to sort of remedy the situation. We have these similar intersections. We have one down on Union Street by the pipeline, two-way stop sign. We don't seem to have any issues. Why is that? It's very similar. So, you know, just the cost and the prioritizing it, I'm not convinced that that's the best way to go. So I've sort of always been on that, thinking about that. And like I said, there are other ways we can deal with it. There's people jumping stop signs. That's been the problem. And it's called an ace. Call it what it is. People jumping stop signs. If you do jump stop sign, we just had an accident at a traffic light, Browns Avenue, where a car was T-boned. What happened there? A person jumped a red light. So if drivers are not going to obey the road, the rules of the road, then this is what's going to happen. No matter if you have a roundabout, you have a set of lights, you have stops, it doesn't matter. We haven't taken, so getting back to my main point, I think to spend this kind of money, I think we should be much more sure that this is going to be effective, cost-effective, and solve the problem. And to this date, I'm not convinced that it's the best way to go. And sort of agreement with Councillor Davis when she said, I think we should take this back to committee. Definitely do give this a little bit more thought. I'll be open-minded to it, but at this point in time, I really can't see the reason to put it there, the viability of it. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Councillor Pinsent. Any other discussion? Councillor Morse.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I voted for the erection of the roundabout at the intersection. And I just want to bring to your attention that we discussed two safety issues with regards to traffic here in Grand Falls. One of them was the Duggan Street one, where we were something like 15 years trying to get the ramp off Duggan Street onto the Trans-Canada because of the safety issue on Cromer Avenue intersection. We talked about having a lane installed on the Trans-Canada Highway down at the weight scales because we wanted a lane for the buses and the heavy traffic to pull out from the weight scales. We're asking government to put a ramp in there because of safety. We are spending something just about as we're spending $1.9 million on Coady Avenue to upgrade the the intersection, and we're going to leave the end of Artie Avenue, the worst intersection in town, safety-wise. We're going to leave it. We're talking about putting four-way stop signs there or putting a set of lights there. Look, four-way stop signs and a set of lights, there's still going to be T-bone accidents there. There's still going to be tragic accidents there and very serious accidents because people don't obey stop signs and they don't obey lights. Just an example is Browns Avenue and Pinsent Drive just a couple of weeks ago. We had people jumping the stop sign or the lights, and the jaws of life had to be used to cut people out. So people do intersect at the red lights, and it's going to happen. And if we put the roundabout there, at least if we have the T-bone accidents and the tragic accidents are not going to happen because the traffic is going to be much slower and it's going to be yield signs in there. And with the long extension of the ramps, the center ramps, they're going to have to slow down to 30 coming into the roundabout. They're going to have to. And when they get into the roundabout, there's no need to make a turn and go out. People that were confused about not a roundabout and a rotary. That's what people didn't understand, the difference between a roundabout and a rotary. When we had that public meeting, at the fire hall, we had a lot of people, yes, they were opposed. But we did an education. That was an education session. And when we put up our slides and our videos and explained how that roundabout works and how easy it is to go into it, you know, there's a lot of people changed their mind on that. I've got emails. You got emails. We got phone calls and just general conversation. People saying, look, boy, I didn't understand what a roundabout was until I was at the meeting. We got educated and we changed our mind. I'm telling you, I got a lot of calls, and I'm sure everybody else there. So, you know, it's the safest thing that's there. I only wish that you guys were at the scene of an accident. I know the press was there when just October, November, we had to cut a lady out of a car. I wish you were there to hear the misery and the pain from that person, just taking them out of the car and putting them in the stretcher. I wish you people were there just to listen to the sounds of that person. I mean, people are getting laid down there because people are jumping stop signs. Somebody said at the meeting that baymen and seniors were going to have problems there. Well, I'm a bayman and I'm a senior, and I won't have trouble there. I'm not stupid. I can understand what a roundabout is. If I don't, I'll learn. So don't go blaming on saying that the seniors won't know how to use a roundabout. Paradise, they installed one. Now they're going to install 4 more. So it can't be all that bad. That's what the talk is. So it's feasible to put the roundabout in there. There's lots of room. It's financially feasible. So I say we put the roundabout in there, and I'm going to vote in favor of the roundabout.
Thank you, Councillor Morris. Any other discussion? Councillor Finn?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I have so much to say on this, I don't know if I'll get time tonight. But I have reflected a lot on this, on the decision to pursue a roundabout in the first place before the recent public meeting and heightened public awareness. And of course, I've reflected a lot on it since. So I mean, I'm taking all that information, I weigh it all, and I wear it all. I don't brush off anything. And I still remain in a position, Deputy Mayor, where I support the roundabout. And I support it for all the reasons I originally supported it, which was it's a safe solution. And it's a safe solution that was presented to us by a lot of professional staff and experts in the area of traffic controls, providing traffic control solutions. And I admit I'm not an expert, but I'm becoming close to one. But I don't have all the answers. You know, you grow with experience in terms of what are the best solutions. I've looked at this here, and safety first has always been my approach on all traffic issues. Safety first, not cost. Cost is a factor, but is not the first factor. And when you compare traffic lights versus a roundabout, the costs are the same, except for the replacement cost on traffic lights, which is 20 years you replace your traffic lights. And so there's no long-term return, for lack of a better word, when you on lights, because you have to replace lights. But anyway, that's not a factor. It's just the roundabout still presented to be a safer issue. I listened to all the presenters intently at the public consultations. I've read all the emails, and presenters for and against, emails for and against, phone calls I've received for and against. And at the end of the day, it's not the volume for me, is not the number of people that I hear from that primarily guides me. Although that's relevant, not irrelevant, it's relevant. But it's the facts that they give me. What is it that makes A solution safer versus B solution? And so I have to sort out from that, like all other councillors, what are the facts that will guide my decision? Now, I have to agree with something Councillor Moore said, and it's a comment that I've heard a number of times as seniors and people from outside of towns, and I know it's been referred to as bay persons, and not just by one person, by several persons. Don't know how to drive, will never know how to drive through a roundabout. I totally don't accept that. A number of people have approached me and taken offense to it, and there's no fact to that. That is not factual. If you have a license, if you're given a driver's license, you have to be able to get through any type of traffic control system, whether it's a two-way stop, a four-way stop, a traffic light, or a roundabout. A roundabout is a simple merging rule that everybody is taught in driving, how to merge. So it's not, you don't have to learn necessarily how to drive a roundabout. It's only merging. You merge in and you leave it. That's all there is to it. So notwithstanding the fact that, Deputy Mayor, you will understand that I'm continuing to support the roundabout, there are still issues with the roundabout that remain with the committee. And I'm speaking to Councillor Coady-Davis and Councillor Pinsent's questions about will it go back to committee and be considered for other options. I think we have considered all the other options. We've considered several alternatives. We haven't put them on the ground on, as with considering any type of, or addressing any type of issue, you don't actually implement all 5 choices and see what one works out best. You look at it on paper and you make a decision, move on, which is what we've done in this case. So notwithstanding the fact that I support the roundabout and think it's the safest solution, there are issues with the roundabout that still remain to be sorted out by our engineering staff and the consultants that are designing it. We got some issues, we got some questions about the turning radiuses and the, turning radiuses, some of the driveways that are adjacent to it, and the crosswalks in terms of their exact placement. That we got to get sorted out. I don't think they're showstopper issues, but they got to get sorted out. So, committee will continue to discuss that part of it. So notwithstanding that fact, Mr. Mayor, I will continue to support the roundabout. I wanted to respond to three things here, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I want to respond to a couple of points that was raised by Councillor Pinsent. I want to speak to the consultations in terms of my interpretation of that, how I heard that. And I also want to speak about the roundabout, which could take a little bit of time if Council will at all indulge me, because we've all put a lot of time into this, and you've all heard. I think the public at large needs to hear it. With respect to Councillor Pinsent's comment about driver error, at a driver error in terms of like running stop signs and running red lights. Driver error, whether it's a two-way stop, a four-way stop, or yields, merges, roundabouts, will always exist. We're never going to, but you're never going to remove driver error. But every traffic control we put in place, whether it be a stop sign or a yield sign or a roundabout, is a traffic control to mitigate human error. A roundabout mitigates human error. It reduces by significant percentages the severity of accidents and the chance for fatalities. It definitely mitigates. So traffic controls do deal with it. The comparison between the two-way stop at the pipeline and the intersection at Granville, Hardy, and Scott are not comparable. 10,000 vehicle passes a day, and I know we don't have a traffic count on the intersection by the pipeline, are not the same. There are different volumes of traffic, and the approaches are different, different angles. The Granville Hardy Scott Avenue one is an intersection that arrives at a crest. Pipeline arrives at a trough. They're different. People got bigger, wider viewing distances, so they're not the same. So I just wanted to raise that. And Councillor Pinsent also commented on the accident at Brown and Pinsent Avenue, where someone was recently had to be cut from a vehicle. A T-bone accident, jumping a red light. That is what we're trying to avoid in this solution. I would suggest to Council that if I were moving forward, I will look more seriously at roundabouts in a number of intersections, not just this one. And it's for the same reasons. I'm convinced that the information provided to me by traffic consultants, by reports that I've read, I've invested a lot of time in researching it, that it is a safe solution. Mayor, the public consultations. I have to say I really do thank sincerely the organizers of that, and namely Peggy Bartlett, in terms of organizing, and because it was beneficial to me and is beneficial to the community, notwithstanding my position, my current position today. But in that consultation, there were, in terms of how I tracked it, there were 18 speakers, and there were 14 opposed and 4 in favor. But there was 4 that approached me after the meeting, in that meeting, that told me that they were in favor of the roundabout, but they didn't come to the podium to speak at it. And there was another person that came to me who spoke at the podium who clarified his position that he was actually in favor of it. But I wasn't quite sure from the comments at the time. So, in short, Mr. Deputy Mayor, in terms of a meeting that was organized, I would suggest to oppose the construction of a roundabout. 8 of 22 people in the meeting that was arranged to oppose it spoke to me in favor of it. 8 of 22. 14, so we're 14 opposed to the roundabout, but 2 of those 14 were also opposed to lights. They want a different solution, not lights. So it's not consistent, not roundabout. Some people don't want roundabout or lights. They want other traffic controls, which is not unlike Councillor Pinsent's position, which is to try another solution. And I have to assume he's talking about reduced speed. He commented speed bumps, traffic stop signs, and that kind of stuff. There were 2 speakers. 2 of the speakers referred to having used roundabouts in other places, have traveled quite a bit, and they work great, but they won't work here. Won't work here because what? They'll work in other countries, other provinces, but they won't work here? I don't understand that. There was also There was one person that also spoke from, in terms of the safety for the school buses. There are 525 children at EVH, 10 buses a day that would go back and forth there routinely. So of course, that's a serious concern for me too, and it's a serious concern for council. So we've made the effort to meet with the bus drivers and inform them on the construction of the roundabout and the exactly what we're doing and to get their feedback. Well, they were overwhelmingly, among the bus drivers that were able to make the meeting, which was 2/3 of the bus drivers that are employed, were fine with a roundabout. Thought it was a safe solution. Definitely thought it was a safety problem that needed to be addressed in the area. So I've read some comments in terms of like an overwhelming majority of residents and neighbors were opposed based on the meeting. And it was a meeting that where people were recruited, I'll say, or invited to attend, and albeit to, I would say, with the common denominator of opposing the construction of a roundabout. But there are two things about that. I don't think it is the majority. And I don't think it is because there are so many people speaking to me in favor of it. People that are reaching out to me. People that came from that meeting and came and followed up with me that night. 4 people before I got away from the podium. I support it, do it. And also the comment that it's a neighborhood issue. This is not a neighborhood issue. 10,000 vehicles a day. I drive that intersection, and I want to get through it safe every time I go through it, like every other intersection in town. This is a community intersection. It's not a Granville Heights intersection. I mean, with respect to all due respect to the residents in Granville Heights, is not only an intersection that they use. So that's very important, Mr. Mayor. So Mr. Mayor, there are some other comments, that, in terms of council needs to listen to the public. It's a democracy, as if to imply that we're not listening. And I have to say that I am listening very intently. And when I'm being asked, or when I say I support the position of a roundabout, and you would imply that if I support it, you're not following the will of the public. I say, well, whose will am I supposed to follow? Because I'm getting a ton of representation to build it. So either way, whatever the decision becomes, you have to follow the will of the public, but you also have to do the right and smartest thing. So with respect to the roundabout itself, Mr. Mayor, or Mr. Deputy Mayor, just want to raise some quick points. And I know I'm gone on quite a bit.
I'll ask you to
Yeah.
be very quick and we'll.
And Mr. Mayor, it's the option to build a roundabout was recommended to us by traffic consultants, international experts, who are very knowledgeable in the area. It was the decision to deal with the problem in the first place was based on community feedback and staff feedback, and council followed that recommendation, and the concerns from the public and the number of accidents is what, T-bone accidents is what we're trying to deal with. So we're dealing with it. We looked at all the alternatives. We looked at a traffic light option, not recommended. They're not recommending it. The volume of traffic, while it's high and a lot of accidents are occurring, traffic lights are not recommended by the consultants. you will have traffic up there parked at red lights saying, what the heck am I doing waiting here? Long delays, because the traffic is sporadic, but it's still 10,000 vehicle passes a day. Just let me come through here. So in a roundabout, Mr. Deputy Mayor, it's safety first. There's lower speed limits in a roundabout. There's no traffic signal to speed through, and so there are no sudden stops. So it's only one-way movement, and there's no delays. You can pass on through, no matter if you're on the arterial or on a residential street. So it's an 89% in overall reductions in vehicle delays, and a 56% reduction in vehicle stops. I mean, that's why the consultants have given us a recommendation not to put a traffic light in. It's for those reasons. A 37% reduction in overall collisions, 75% reduction in injury crashes, a 90% reduction in fatality collisions, and a 40% reduction in pedestrian collisions. Those are statistics that compare roundabouts to traffic signal intersections. To go another direction, you would have to be going another direction in the face of those statistics. So, Mr. Mayor and Council, that's all I had to say. I know it was a lot. I do chair the committee, and I thank you for your indulging me to that amount of time so that I was to go through some of the things. I know I haven't gone through all the information like I'd like to go through it. It's a lot. But I will say to the public that would be listening that I am available to take calls, to email, to receive emails, and to explain the position of council on building a roundabout. And so I'm always available to provide the reasons why I support it. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Finn. Well, before... Yes, you will, absolutely, yeah. I think it's only fair, Councillor Finn, that we give an opportunity. I mean, personally, it's a very important issue. Obviously, people in the public have shown us that, even though I believe we knew that already. So personally, as chair of this meeting, I do not mind giving the extra time required and giving everybody the opportunity to speak. This is a big issue, and I certainly don't want to nip that. Before Councillor Coady-Davis goes, I haven't had an opportunity to speak to this yet, and I think it's only appropriate maybe that I have my say before we hear any rebuttals. It's unfortunate that the mayor is not here this evening to hear his views on this. He's made them known to us. I won't say anything about that. I'll let him do that himself if and when the time comes. Also, we have another councillor. I guess in an hour or so we'll find out what the future holds with the council and who will be around and who won't be around. But nonetheless, I'm sitting here now in this chair and I've listened to what everybody had to say. We've had hours and hours and hours of discussion ourselves on this issue. And I'll certainly try to be as quick as possible. And I won't be as long as Councillor Finn, I'll promise you that. But I do want to make some comments. First, when we looked at this, the question was, you know, in this intersection, is there an issue there? Does something need to be done? And through the feedback we received from residents and from emergency services, the fire department, the RCMP, the municipal police, central health, it was clear, and it still is clear, because even in the comments from people who are in favor of lights or a roundabout or anything, I don't hear very many people saying, do nothing. Something needs to be done there. So once we determined that that question was answered with a yes, then the question was, what do we do? And then all the options were presented. And to me personally, it comes down to safety first. And I kind of find it ironic that people are, because I've had many debates about this with people and had many discussions with people who were in favor. But I find it ironic that people are telling me that put the traffic lights there. We want to take care of the safety of our residents. And I believe, because I do not take this decision lightly, that the roundabout is definitely the safest option for people who use that intersection. And there's a ton of statistics to prove that, all over North America, all over Europe. I was in favor of this when we talked about it in January, and I do not dismiss or disrespect anybody's opinions and comments, but I have not changed my mind. I'm still in favor of the roundabout being constructed at that intersection, because I believe one problem with this is that people had this monster envisioned because it's something new. People don't know what a roundabout is. They had visions of the Micmac Rotary, cars going everywhere, lanes going everywhere. But that's not what this is at all. It's a modern roundabout with a single lane in, a single lane out, where you're basically just merging to traffic the same as you would do with many other streets in town. You head up to it, you have no choice but to slow down, you look to your left. If there's nothing coming, you get in the roundabout and you take turn 1, 2, or 3. Single lane around. There won't be any cars alongside. It forces the traffic to slow down. And as Councillor Finn had said, it minimizes, mitigates the human error. You're not going to correct the fact that they're bad drivers. And maybe it's true that there are more in Grand Falls-Windsor than other places. I hear that all the time. But it's a proven fact, again, that roundabouts reduce the collisions. They reduce the serious accidents. And when it comes to doing something less, let's try this, let's try that, one thing is that there's investment required even with the smallest changes. Changing stop signs. My fear, personally, and it comes down to, I do not want on my conscience, while we're trying these smaller measures, someone to be killed or seriously injured at that intersection when we're trying to figure out other means, when I believe 100% that the roundabout is the correct solution for that intersection. I won't repeat a lot of what Councillor Finn had to say. I will mention a couple other points. One is that at the public consultation, we presented a video which is available on YouTube, and it's posted on the Town of Grand Falls-Windsor's Facebook page. I shared it on my page. The video itself is excellent for anybody who doesn't understand what we're proposing there. It's as similar as anything you're going to find online. And it not only talks about the flow of traffic improvements, the ease of navigation, the improved safety for pedestrians, 50% less pedestrian accidents at roundabouts than there are traffic lights. The environmental thing, which is low on the scheme of things. Safety is much more important, but cars do not have to stop, and the emissions going into the atmosphere. The fact that this is a major gateway to our community with a roundabout, it can be green and beautiful and a nice welcoming point to the community. And one thing I want to mention about approaching this thing, because again, I think people have the wrong idea. As you approach a roundabout, this particular proposed one, you will have a clear view of all entries and the traffic that already exists. So you're not going to go up to this thing blindly and try to look around a corner. As you approach, you'll see where the traffic is coming from and what already exists. And all you have to do is yield and just wait for a break, the same as you would yielding into any other intersection. A lot of the other things that were mentioned by Councillor Finn, I certainly agree with, and Councillor Moore's expressed passionately his experience as a firefighter, and I hear that all the time. Our fire chief, our police chief, their RCMP, when we talk to them about a roundabout, they want it. This is the way of the future. This is not, we're not doing this because it's a trendy thing to do. We're doing this because it's the right thing to do, because it's going to save people's lives potentially, and certainly serious accidents. And they're being built more and more all across North America. They've been used in other countries for years, and we need to have that as an option here in Grand Falls-Windsor for the safety of our residents and all the other benefits that come along with it. The only other thing I'll mention before we take some other comments is one important stat, and the whole presentation, by the way, is available to anybody who wants to see it, or any other stats, and as Councillor Finn said, the same with me, and I'm available to sit and discuss this with people, answer questions, debate, phone, email, text, one-to-one meetings, more group meetings. I have no problem with talking to the public about this, because I believe strongly that this is the way to go in this intersection. And I believe so much so that I think a lot of the people that right now their attitudes are against will change their mind once this is a thing. I'm confident enough that this will work so well that people will say, I wasn't in favor, but now I am. And Councillor Finn touched on the exact same thing I was feeling. There seems to be a public sense that there's a huge discrepancy, that the whole electorate is against this roundabout, but that's simply not the case. I'd love to be able to tell you where it's to. I would guess it's probably somewhere close. But I do know that it's close, that there's as many people that support it as are against it in my experiences and what I've seen. One bit of a statistic I wanted to share with you, and this comes from the National Cooperative Highway Research Program, and it has to do with a study that was done in a leading transportation magazine in the United States about roundabouts, modern roundabouts, that were installed, and the attitudes of people in the areas where they were installed before the installation and after the installation. And before the installation of these roundabouts that were studied, the attitude was very negative, 23%. That went to 0% after construction. Negative, 45%. That went to 0% after construction. Neutral, before construction, 18%. After construction, 27%. Positive, before construction, 14%. After construction, 41%. And then very positive, before construction, 0%. After construction, 32%. So I know it's not a hair thing, but it is relevant. It is a credible association that had the article. I can pass that along to anybody who wants it as well. And I seriously believe that once the roundabout is constructed, that will be the sort of reaction that we're going to get here as well. And I'll just finish by saying it again is the safety. And when you look at the other options and the human error that exists, the potential for serious accidents still exists and likely will still happen. I believe with a roundabout, the accidents that do occur, because there'll be accidents, will be minor in nature, the fender bender variety. Therefore, you will not have debilitating injuries or death in this, unless it's absolute, someone who would come through the middle of this roundabout, which is paramount with banging into someone's front deck. And anyways, I'll end on that note. I think I'm very clear. I could go on all night as well, but I won't. I think it's clear why I feel passionate about it as well. And I will now ask if there's any other discussion on the motion. I believe Councillor Coady-Davis, you wanted to say a few things.
Just to close off, since I asked for the motion to begin with, I just wanted to point out a couple of things. And you talked about the safety of the roundabout and with vehicle traffic. And I know you also touched on pedestrian traffic, but I'm not convinced that pedestrians would be safer in a roundabout environment. It talks about, in the video itself, it talked about how the crosswalk areas are shorter in the roundabout, but instead of having one crossing, there's several crossings. So the crossing section may be shorter, but I'm not convinced that pedestrians will not be in the traffic volume area for longer periods waiting to cross. So to me, those short crosswalks are going to keep the people in the area and surrounded by traffic and not understanding how they're going to be able to get from point A to point B. So, they cross and then there's a break and then they cross and then I think they might be to the other side, but still, it depends on the size of the roundabout. You have vehicles who are merging in, and I know in a lot of cases, from personal experience alone, when you're merging into an intersection or a merge lane, a lot of times you're looking to the left. So, and if the left is clear, then you continue to move on. And a lot of times we don't pay attention to what's happening on the right side of us, where pedestrians could be coming from the right side. So the pedestrian may see you stopped and waiting to merge in and think that you're allowing them to cross and may start to cross the road. But you're looking to the left, it's clear to go, and you merge out, and next thing you know, the pedestrian is right in front of you. So I'm not convinced that that solution is safer. With a light system, a traffic light system, all of the traffic lights have the push button where you push, which signals the lights that there's a pedestrian in the area and will flash the don't walk or the walk symbols, letting the pedestrian know when it is or not safe to cross that area. And it also allows for vehicle operators in the area to know, it will signal drivers as well, when those lights are illuminated. I believe Councillor Finn mentioned about traffic being backed up and delayed, stopped. All of the signal lights now these days are traffic activated. So if there's no traffic coming one direction, the lights will maintain the green in the area where the traffic is coming and going. So there won't be traffic. You won't be waiting at a green light, at a red light if there's no traffic coming in the opposite direction. They'll all be traffic activated. So to me, that wouldn't be an issue. There would be no delays in traffic that way. I also have some concerns about the center of the roundabout, especially in regards to large vehicles like school buses, transport trucks, and just longer vehicles, trailers, RVs, and whatever. The roundabout is designed with a lower curb so that the tires of those vehicles can go up on the curb to allow them the turning radius that is necessary for them to maneuver the roundabout. My fear is that as pedestrians are using this, they're going to view that center as a safe area. So if they're in the crosswalk area and they're not sure what they need to do next or where the traffic is going to be maneuvering, that they will step up onto this center piece. And my fear is that a large vehicle is going to come around and come up onto that curb, which is really going to minimize that safe space. So technically, that space is not safe at all. So it's not just drivers that we need to educate about the roundabout. And even slower speeds is not going to help a pedestrian if they're caught in a situation like that. So I still have a lot of safety concerns like that. Again, I can't stress enough, we can go back and forth all night with, you had 10 people contact you who were for it after the session. I had 10 people contact me who weren't at the session who were against it. We can't measure that unless we actually had a vote in the community on who was for and who was against. That would be the only way to measure whether or not the residents of Grand Falls-Windsor were for or against the roundabout. I'm sure we've all got emails. We've probably been contacted by the same people. There's other people who have contacted one instead of the other. If you're in for, they probably contacted you for. I was against, so if they're against it, they're probably contacting me. We've shared those emails with each other, but I'm sure there's been a lot of crossover. So like I said, I'm not convinced. There's still a lot of safety issues that I'm not comfortable with, and I'm not willing to take the chance. The traffic lights, we work with consultants all the time. Sometimes we like their ideas, and sometimes we just don't like them. They might recommend it, and because they recommend it, if we like it, it's great. They recommend it and we're not in favor, not sure, guess what? We don't like it. So just because a consultant recommends something doesn't necessarily mean that it is the best option for us. They could recommend roundabouts for 15 communities, but it may not be the best option for the 15 communities. So I'm just really passionate that I don't think we're ready to make a final decision on this, and I'm asking that, we do some more research, and we talk about it some more, and we get some more feedback from the general public, from safety people, because, numbers can be manipulated. We all know that. If you're surveying a group of people, you can ask your questions so that they're leading questions, so you get the response that you want, and that can skew the results of your research. So I think we really need to be careful with what, the research that we're looking at. We need to explore all of the options, and we really need to sit down and talk about this further.
Thank you, Councillor Coady-Davis. Councillor Pinsent, very short, if you will.
I'll take it very short. I just want to, I think Councillor Coady-Davis said a lot of points that I agree. Let's get to the point about statistics, because we hear, there's an old saying goes, there's lies, there's damn lies, and then there's statistics. And we can make statistics say anything they want them to say. I'm not using profanity, I'm just saying that's the saying. But statistics, when we were just doing discussion in committee with all of these videos and things, within a couple of minutes, we went on YouTube and found there was a report where it's been put in, there was a roundabout put in, there was more accidents. So, when we say this is the way it is and all statistics point, that's not really true.
Depends on where the statistics are coming from.
Yes, but still, we can make them say anything we want them to say.
Not
And that's my point. Councillor Finn said the comparison between Union Street and Grenfell wasn't because there wasn't clear views. There's I go down to Grenfell Heights and I see Grenfell Heights, there are clear views all sides. You're coming up over a hill, but there's far enough you see the vehicle coming from every direction. So to say that there's unclear views, that's not really true, it is. In comparison to the one down in Union Street, and the bottom of Union Street, it's very comparable. The sight lines are the same. So, so why isn't there a ton of accidents down there? Or maybe that's a candidate for a roundabout in the future. I don't know. But, so I just kind of want to clear that up. The one other thing I just want to say, because we could, like I say, we could beat this to death all night, and we've in general public, we've had some heated discussions in the committee chambers and things of this nature, but I'll just point to the lights on Union Street, where it's a high traffic area going back and forth to the hospital. And I point to those, and they work. So there are other options. I think there are other options that are much more inexpensive that we haven't explored, and we need to explore a little further. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pinsent. Councillor Finn, not as long as the first time.
No. Not at all. I assume, as the mover on this motion, that I'm closing a debate. And I only want to respond to just some of the last remarks. In terms of some of the issues that are raised by Councillor Coady-Davis and Pinsent are valid from the point of view that we are still addressing pedestrian issues with the layout design. So, those are future committee discussions that affect what we all do anyway. But I do want to speak to the pedestrian issue. You described the center of the roundabout as an issue for pedestrians, and it's really not. It's really not, because the pedestrians would never be in the center of a roundabout. All of the pedestrian and cyclist crossings are away from the intersection. They're farther down on the legs of the intersection. There will be no paint marks or paved structures that will lead you to the center of a roundabout. So there will be no pedestrians out there if everybody's following the sidewalks. So that's very important to speak about. There was also reference to traffic-activated lights. Yeah, you're absolutely right, the traffic-activated lights, we do have them. They do reduce times in terms of what people wait, but, and I would think that that was factored into the consultant's recommendations, or into the levels of service analysis that they do on designing any traffic light, or making a recommendation for a traffic light at any intersection. Even when a car approaches an intersection that has a traffic-activated light, it still has to cycle through its lights and change. So there's still delay. But you're right, traffic-activated, if there were lights there, it would be traffic-activated and would reduce the times. In terms of it not being safer, because the crossings for pedestrians are back away from the intersection, that is exactly what makes it safer, based on my reading of the reports and the statistics. Because your crossings are not at the intersection, they're back on the roads, they're back farther on the legs. You still only got to cross 30 feet of pavement, suppose, for 2 lanes, suppose, and you got to cross the fact that you could say you only cross halfway and go again, but well, you got to do that anyway if you're crossing the road anywhere. It's still only 30 feet of pavement. You can see whatever, but you're back away from the intersection. I think that's the important thing. And with respect to Councillor Pinsent's remark or comment on the, I think it was, maybe, I'm not sure it was you or not. Hard to keep score, if there's such a score. But anyway, in terms of the consultant's recommendations and not accepting the consultant recommendation, I don't think council has always accepted a consultant recommendation. Matter of fact, I could probably find a number of cases where we've totally rejected it and gone on our own way. So I don't think we just take advice of consultants and run with it. Never have. I've never done it myself, and I've never experienced it in this council for sure. But in all cases, we buy that advice. Citizens pay for it, and we buy it because it's informed information and helps form our own decisions. So whether or not you like consultants or not, we all use them, and we use them in this particular case. That's all I really have to add. It's just in rebut to just a couple of those comments, and that's all I have to say on the topic for this evening. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Finn. So just to close it out there, a couple of final comments from me as well, very short. Just in the crosswalk and the pedestrian safety, I do agree with Councillor Finn and Amy Coady-Davis that there are some issues that still need to be looked at to make sure that if this goes ahead, that it's the ultimate for safety for pedestrians. The one thing I would add to Councillor Finn's talk about the crosswalks being back away from the roundabout, a fairly significant distance as well, that around the edges of this roundabout will be sidewalks as well. So pedestrians can make their way around on the sidewalks, and when you cross a crosswalk, you're only facing one-way traffic. There's not 2 ways. You just have to look one way, cross, and then you can wait, you look the other way, and you cross. And again, the only other thing I'll say is with regards to statistics, because I do know I've been the one probably using that term more than anybody else. And I do agree some statistics don't hold any weight, but all I'll suggest is that there's a difference in some statistics when they come from the National Insurance Board or the National Transportation Board as more reputable statistics than, say, an I-8 special bulletin report at 1 a.m. on Channel 31. And I'm not trying to diminish, but I'd challenge anybody. I challenge anybody to find more statistics anywhere than I can in terms of whether or not roundabouts are the safest choice over traffic lights or anybody, not only here in this chamber, but anybody else. And I'm talking about reputable stats from reputable people and reputable companies. Anyway, with that said, I will end it there. We do have a motion to uphold the original motion in January from Councillor Finn. That was seconded by Councillor Moores. We've had lengthy discussion, and it deserved lengthy discussion. And I would suggest that it was probably the longest topic that we've discussed in this chamber, certainly in my time. And I don't regret one bit doing that here, by the way. So I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Contramind? You get that, Mr. Town Manager? Motion carried.
If I could just make a point, Deputy Mayor, you did not indicate.
Oh, I thought I said aye.
I didn't hear you say aye.
I'm pretty sure I did.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear.
It's okay. I was going to ask for everybody to raise their hands to clarify, but I think it's pretty clear in the comments on that. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we'll go back to other business. I'll let Councilor Coady-Davis finish up. I'd ask everybody to probably eliminate anything that's not urgent at this time, and I know there's some other engagements some people want to get to as well this evening. Councilor Coady-Davis.
I have congratulations mostly, which won't take long. Congratulations to Celtic Spirit Dancers and their leader, Sarah Sheehan, on their production at the Gordon Pinsent Centre for the Arts a couple of weeks ago, A Blast from the Past, another great production by them, and certainly a great job by all of the dancers involved in that Irish dance, so hats off to them. Congratulations to Sue Rogers on her triathlon win in Dartmouth. Sue Rogers obviously is a resident of Grand Falls-Windsor, and not only was she the top woman in her age category, but she was the top woman overall in that triathlon. So that's a huge accomplishment for her, and we're super proud of her, and we wanted to publicly say congratulations to her. Also, Mr. Arthur Day of Grand Falls-Windsor was named Senior of Distinction. He was nominated by the Kiwanis Club, of which he has been a member for quite some time. He was given, from the Kiwanis Foundation, was awarded the Canada Mel Osborne Fellowship for long and distinguished service back in '97. So he has been a member past 1997 up until now, so even longer service. So congratulations to Mr. Day on receiving that achievement from the provincial government. He's also been involved, a volunteer in various other organizations around town as well, which I won't mention due to time constraints, but certainly want to congratulate him on that. And just a reminder from Grand Falls-Windsor Minor Baseball and Kelly Ford, the Drive for Your Community will happen next Saturday on June the 18th from, sorry, what did I say, June? I had January written on my paper, so that's even worse. Saturday, July the 18th from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. That'll happen at the Goodyear Avenue ball fields. There is a rookie tournament happening that weekend, so there'll be teams visiting. They will donate, Kelly Ford and Ford Canada will donate $20 for every test drive to minor baseball with a maximum of up to $6,000. So I would encourage you to take the 5-10 minutes to do that test drive to support minor ball and of course to support Kelly Ford, who does this annually for various organizations here in Grand Falls-Windsor, and we certainly appreciate that. So again, it's Saturday, July 18th from 9 to 5 at Goodyear Avenue Field, and if you visit the Grand Falls-Windsor Minor Baseball Facebook page, as well as our Town of Grand Falls-Windsor Facebook page. The link is there for the Drive for Your Community, and you can pre-register, so you don't have to fill out the paperwork once you get there, which will just save you a couple extra minutes. So again, I would encourage residents of Grand Falls-Windsor and visiting the area on Saturday to certainly participate in that event. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Coady-Davis. Councilor Morris?
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I got my car keys ready, and it's just about 7 o'clock, and that's my bit for this evening.
Thank you, Councilor Morris. Councilor Pinsent?
He was passionate about it, too. I can tell. I only have 30 items here, Deputy Mayor. No, I only had a couple of things. I'd like to congratulate the St. Joseph's Parish 75th anniversary, which a couple of us are going to the dinner, so that very quickly, congratulations to them. This weekend, Sam Festival is upon us already. It doesn't feel like summer. It feels more like fall, but it is, hope the weather's supposed to be nice. I'm predicting a nice day. I'm going to go out on a limb like Councilor Moores did a few years. I'm guaranteeing there's going to be a sunny day on Saturday. St. John's, it's going to snow. But anyway, also just one thing about, we were talking about the RCMP, and we've been getting really serious about this. I think as the Deputy Mayor and as Councillor Finn and everybody else said, how serious this is. And it is serious. I mean, crime is growing and it's hurting us. And there's one thing that nobody mentioned in the briefing is that the RCMP have a budget, and they cannot go over budget. If the provincial government, the RNC, need more money in the budget, they go to government, government gives them some more. So there's another place where it's simply not fair, and I'm not going to beat it to death because I think we did that already. Final comment about the Grand Falls House and just make a comment to the committee who has diligently worked for the last year, and I commend them for what they did. I think the Grand Falls House, and I think that's a jewel in the crown for our future tourism, and I look at it that way. I look at it as being a critical area for our development, and I think tourism is one of the economic development areas that we'll have the most control over. And so I hope that we can somehow come to a compromise and protect and save the house. And that's it for me.
Councillor Finn.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm glad we got some of that on record. Deputy Mayor, I just wanted to quickly run through, Salmon Festival is this weekend, and it starts Thursday. Thursday's salmon dinner. Tickets are for sale at the Joe Byrne Stadium. They're $35. Entertainment is by Clever. Friday, July 10th, tribute dance at Joe Byrne Stadium. Entertainment is an all-girls Guns N' Roses tribute band and the Kellyanne Evans Band. Tickets are available at Needs, Riverside Convenience, Ibex, Grand Falls Drugs, Jim's Clover, and DNR Convenience in Bishop Falls. Tickets are $15 in advance or $20 at the door. Saturday is obviously a concert. Sunday is Newfie Night at the Joe Byrne Stadium, starting at 4 p.m. serving food. 5:30 music by Fergus and Fergus. 8 p.m. the Screechin', and featuring music by Landlocked, local entertainers. Monday, July 13th is Grand Falls-Windsor Day, and is when we host our Family Day on High Street. And this year our entertainment includes Terry Riley, Fergus and Fergus, Ray's Reptiles, Leslie Oak Dancers, wrestling, juggling, and a community barbecue on High Street, and all those events on Family Day are free. Mr. Mayor, Saturday is our big concert. John Fogerty, Tom Cochran, Collective Soul, American Fables. We have a fantastic lineup. I haven't heard one person tell me ever that it was a terrible lineup, and I know the difference because I've gotten that feedback on some other events. So I know the difference when the public is not supportive of the choices on bands. So it is a huge lineup. Any one of these bands could headline a festival, any one of them. And we got 5 bands filling out today. There's an awesome lineup, and I want to encourage the public to get out there. There are some exciting new changes. Children 12 and under are free, and there is re-entry on the field until 7 p.m. So if you leave the field before 7 p.m., you can get a re-entry bracelet. And for those who don't want to spend the whole day on the field, but they want to come and see an early band like America or the Fables who are playing early, and maybe come back later for John Fogerty. So tickets are available through all of the advertised outlets, and all that information can be found on salmonfestival.com. I want to thank the council and committee for all of the work that's gone into planning this event. Thank the committee, Councillor Coady-Davis and Councillor Pinsent, for helping with all the media requests. There's a ton of media interest across the province, and thank you for stepping up and taking care of some of those media interviews and sharing the workload. That's what committee work is all about. So thank you for that. encourage public get out and support your festival and support the concert, and looking forward to a great day on Saturday and indeed all the 5 days of the event. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Finn. And I would also suggest that the concert lineup is fantastic, and every group there has the reputation of putting off a great show, an energetic show. All the other events will be great as well, and I'd encourage everybody to get out and support and enjoy, and let's show some community pride that I know exists sometimes Grand Falls-Windsor, and I'm sure it's not unique to Grand Falls-Windsor. A lot of other communities get the knock that, you know, people just don't support, or we don't necessarily have the pride. I don't buy that at all, and I think it's festivals like this that can help improve those aspects, that we can get people out and we could show our community pride. So I don't only want to see the people I haven't seen for 15 or 20 years, which I love to see, or haven't seen since the last Salmon Festival. I want to see a lot of the residents out and around as well, and let's show that Grand Falls-Windsor has as much or more community pride as any other community in Newfoundland and Labrador, and certainly beyond. A couple of congratulations I'd like to pass along. One is the town in the recreation department, and of course myself as chair have been involved in trying to make some changes over the last couple of years. We've been introducing new programming. This year, for the first time in many, many years, we've offered a youth ball hockey program. Over 150 kids are in that youth ball hockey program, and they decided, I think on fairly short notice, that they'd put together a couple of teams, a 15 and under team and a 13 and under team, to attend the provincial ball hockey championships in St. John's, which took place this last weekend. And both teams had a very good showing. I'm pleased to report, so I'd like to congratulate both teams. But the under 13 team from Grand Falls-Windsor won the provincial ball hockey championship, beating that crowd from St. John's, which was great. It was obviously on short notice, but just shows that we have great passion for that program, and it also proves that the proactiveness of this council and the direction that we have in the recreation department to get out and to offer this program led to a provincial championship, and nothing but great things to come from not only that program but many others that we've been offering in the years to come. The other congratulations I have is to do with a very enthusiastic leader of the Scouts in town. His name is Jason Note, and Jason has been involved in the scouting movement here in Grand Falls-Windsor for the last number of years, and I think I spoke about Jason and the other leaders of the Scouting, Cub, Beaver, Guide organizations here in town. Just fantastic. I mean, the work that these people do to organize activities for the kids. My son recently had the privilege of going to Camp Norwest for a 4-day jamboree with Cubs. There were 650 kids in attendance from all over the place. They had a blast. They just don't stop the emails, the activities. And Jason Note, although I cannot name the exact award, at the jamboree was awarded a very special award for Newfoundland and Labrador. He was the only one in Newfoundland and Labrador to receive this award, and it just speaks to his dedication and his enthusiasm, and he's made a positive difference to those organizations, which means so much to the kids who take part. The registration is great, so I'd like to congratulate Jason. And the brochure for Salmon Fest is on the festival website, on the festival website page. I'm asked to pass that along as well, and that's www.salmonfestival.com, right? So you can find that there, and all the events are listed, and I hope to see everybody out, as I said. So with that, I'm going to call an end to this very lengthy but productive meeting. So we'll see y'all next time.